agents don't read, and it's costing them thousands of dollars, and it absolutely could cost you thousands of dollars when you transact real estate too. Let's jump into why that is and what is going on in the real estate agent industry and why there's so many issues. Brittany, let's talk about the first thing that agents don't read, which is their independent contractor agreement.
Correct. Number one, ICA or independent contractor agreement. So either the brokerage that they're signing on with doesn't give it to them ahead of time to review and actually understand the terms of the agreement, let their attorneys review it and just take time. The goal is to rush it so that people don't read it and
They
then they
don't read
fall
it.
into the brokerage traps that are intentional and there to take money from the real estate agent to the
Wait,
brokerage.
you're saying that the brokers intentionally rush through these contracts to get the agents trapped later on at their brokerage?
Some do. I'm not saying all of them, but some do. Their goal is because they understand that a lot of real estate agents are straight out of college or not college. They're young. They're just excited to get into the industry. So they take advantage of the naivety of the new real estate agent just getting in and getting really excited. And they're like, let's bring them in. It's going to be fun. And fun also comes at an expense, and that is brokerage fees. That is high commission splits. It's monthly fees, tech fees, franchise fees, desk fees. You can name a million
It can
types
make up
of
any
ways
type
that
of
they
fee,
call it.
transaction fee. There's all
Transaction
these
fees.
fees. And I think one of the main things, and you bring up a good point, is these real estate agents who are just joining, maybe the first time in the industry, they're expecting these larger companies especially to at least have terms in their agreements that are fair, and they would expect there to be some sort of situation of fair dealing. I think they just assume, oh, they're big, so let me just rush through the paperwork, sign whatever's in front of me. They're just excited to have their license and to affiliate with a brokerage. But then it gets them into trouble. Let's talk about the main things that real estate agents are getting in trouble with. Brittany, what's the number one issue you see on these independent contractor agreements?
Typically, it is splits that are really high and increase over time. An agent coming in may think that it's one set of fees or one type of brokerage commission split. And then later down the road, when they've already changed their signs, gotten their advertising costs in play, all the different startup costs that may be with that specific brokerage as the name brand, they're so deep in it. And then the splits or the fees increase. There's a lot of brokerages that give discounts in the beginning, knowing that once those agents are in the door, it's much harder for them to split and there's a transition cost. And they've got them. They know that once they're in, it's much more difficult. And then a lot of times those splits are going to increase, the monthly fees are going to increase, and you're going to see an addition of other fees that come into play down the road.
That's a good point. We just had one big virtual brokerage that has a ton of agents and sort of like an MLM recruiting model. They raised their monthly fees on all these agents. Agents are already hurting, right? We're at record low number of transaction sales in the industry, and now they're getting charged with more fees because the brokerages aren't making enough money. They need to charge. They're owned by Wall Street. Wall Street needs to make as much money as humanly possible because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. They need to fee these agents as much as they possibly can. So every year they come out with new fees, annual fees, quarterly fees, monthly fees, whatever fee they can get. And they barely even, I mean, I'm sure they send an email to the agents, but the agents don't read, right? They don't read their emails. And then they look at their check and they're like, wait, why is it so small? And why is there so much money coming out of my bank account going to my real estate brokerage? And it's because they don't read their independent contractor agreement and they're susceptible. Now, Brittany, what happens? There's some of these brokerages that really take advantage of real estate agents when they leave the company. Talk to me about that.
Oh, this is a big one. So we get a lot of call-ins for people wanting to join our brokerage. And the first thing I ask them, depending on where I know they're coming from, is have you looked at your independent contractor agreement? Have you read it? Have you seen that if you leave, they take a higher commission split when you leave than if you were to stay? So essentially a penalty if the agent is transitioning brokerages and saying, well, they're leaving our environment, we're going to charge them more. And most of the time, the biggest thing I hear is, I don't even know where to get my independent contractor agreement. I don't even remember
They
reading
never read it.
my agreement. So they didn't read it. They don't know they have access to it. They don't know that they can ask for access to it. It's mind blowing. And so we see the big trap is that when an agent is telling their previous brokerage that they're intending to make a split or about to make a split or they're going to make a split, all of a sudden the brokerage slaps the independent contractor agreement in front of them and says, That's cool. Now your brokerage commission split is going to go from 30% to now 70% on all your pending deals. And then we get into the cycle of the agent saying, well, I'm just going to wait until my contracts close and then I'll make a switch because I don't want to pay them higher. But then what happens? You get new contracts consistently. It's a constant hamster wheel and they can never escape.
Yeah, they get stuck in the system. Meanwhile, their fees are going up
Right.
and they can't
They don't
leave
know
because
whether
they,
to like leave and escape the monthlies that are about to go up, but if they leave, they get a higher split. So it's a mental.
yeah, they're like, I'm going to leave when I have zero pending. They never have zero pending. There's always one more and they always leave sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on the table just to get out of that type of economic system. And that costs them thousands. They should have read their independent contractor agreement. By the way, you can negotiate these independent contractor agreements. You're able to go in there and strike out clauses that you don't want to apply to you as a real estate agent. Some other things in there that we're seeing, Brittany, that's really bad is your database, especially with some teams around town. There's teamerages, which basically means that you're a real estate team, but you're also a brokerage. And basically the brokerage operates as a team. And they have something called non-solicitation in there. And what that means is that if you upload anybody in your database, so the first thing they'll tell you to do is, oh, take your phone out and I want you to download all of your contacts into my database. And then they do that. They're like, I want you to call through. I want you to get all their emails, put it in my database.
Well, they do that because they're training. They're saying, hey, this is the nature of the game. Start downloading all your contacts. You're going to do so many contacts per day on a drip to get in front of them to announce you're a new real estate agent or an agent that switched brokerages. And this is how they get you. They say, load it into our system and our database so that you can start working them. Well, guess what? That brokerage is not going to work you. And when you leave, they're going to take your people.
So that, yeah, right. So with these teamerages, they keep your database. And so if you try to serve somebody in your database after you've uploaded it into their system, they say, oh, you owe me a 70, 80, 90% referral fee. And then they will sue you to do that. And then inside your agreement, by the time you figure out that this is happening to you and you're like, no way, I can't believe I signed this. And there's also non-disclosure agreement. They can't even go online and tell other people about their experience, about basically getting their money, you know, you could say quote unquote stolen, but they just did not read it, their independent contractor agreement. But here's the thing. Some of these broker owners will sit you down and only give you the independent contractor agreement to sign in person. And they never give you a chance to read it or for your attorney to read it. And so you don't even, and by the way, you don't even know if the clauses in these agreement are legal or not. You would have to go through court to find out if these clauses are legal. And most people don't have the money to sue their broker owner to figure out what is real and what is not in these independent contractor agreements. It's very expensive to be able to do these things. So these agents are just completely trapped at their brokerage the minute they upload their database. So that's something you need to check in your independent contractor agreement.
Yes, it could be your friends, your family, people that you knew and were working with beforehand, but there's something innocent as upload these. That way you can start working them. Well, guess what? What you didn't read, because you didn't read your independent contractor agreement, is that now they own your database.
Or the other part of it, so you got the database aspect of it, you got the increase in fees, but you also can't take your active listings. Some brokerages like ours, we let you take your active listings anywhere. We're not going to hold you hostage. We think that's really bad business, and it's going to get out anyway behind the scenes. You should be able to transfer wherever you want to go that's going to get you the most value as an entrepreneur and a business owner. But there's some companies that are like, we're never going to let you bring your active listings with you. So if you have 10 listings with you, that broker is going to say, you can keep them with me, or you're going to have to, you can take them with you, but you need to pay me a 70% referral fee on those active listings. So look for that active listings clause as well when you're reading.
Absolutely.
So what's the next one, Britt? Let's see here. All right, you want to switch gears into the contracts? We'll just edit this part out, this transition. Okay, so Brittany, not only are real estate agents costing themselves thousands of dollars by not reading, but they also cost their customers thousands of dollars by not reading. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we are constantly doing contract training and understand that other brokerages may not be. And a lot of times when I get calls from people, they are saying, well, my agent didn't read this. We didn't know this term was put in. We weren't paying attention. First off, the consumer has responsibility to read. So consumers, you've got to read your contracts. Agents, you've got to look at the contracts, because conniving bad other real estate agents can throw in
And they will
terms and trap you and not realize what had been done. And so then you're all in a trap where they can use those clauses and terms that they added. And or maybe you didn't understand the nuances, didn't understand what those would mean down the road. So we see a lot of pitfalls that come from not reading the contract.
And they're not very long, so it's very confusing why real estate agents don't read their purchase and sale agreements or the addenda that are attached to them. What are the most common ones that agents have issues with, if you had to say your top three?
Oh, inspections.
Like the time, like, hey, it's 15 days, right? And a repair request has to be done
Right,
within that 15 days, right?
right.
People are really confused that the repair request has to be completely executed by the end of the 15 days.
Yes, if you're requesting repairs. Financing and appraisal. So the combination of financing and appraisal. So can
Yeah.
I order the appraisal later after I get financing approval? Make sure that I'm good to go before I order the appraisal because they don't want to spend money on things if they're not going to get approved. That is a no-no. It's part of diligence. So there's so many things we could talk about, but it's so important for the agents to take these classes and understand and read these contracts through and through. John and I used to be able to recite those terms and know exactly which line item when we were talking to clients. We'd be like, hey, line 194, it talks about time is of the essence, deadlines are these days, things like that. So, yes, you should know it, memorize it, treat it like a university class. Like this is your higher level studies because you can get sued.
Great. So agents don't read their own independent contractor agreement. They don't read the purchase and sale agreement or the addenda or how the rules work. And I don't know how they're communicating with their customers if they don't understand it themselves. I guess they just call their broker and hope that their broker solves it for them. And then number three, frankly, this one is terrifying to me. They don't read anything about like what is real estate. They don't learn anything about real estate. They don't learn about roofs, siding, plumbing, electrical, anything. So when they walk through a house, they can't name the different types of countertops. They can't name the different types of flooring and why this one's better than that one. Or, hey, this house was built in the 50s and it has polybutylene piping. Like, what am I going to be able to get insured? They don't read anything. They don't understand anything. We teach a lot of this at our company. We have, documents and documents. We have classes on this type of stuff that helps agents understand what is a house, what are you actually selling, what are the major components, what do you need to look out for. No other brokerage that I'm aware of teaches any of that, and their agents run around. I don't know how they're adding value at these showings, Brittany, if they don't know how to read the serial number to figure out what the age of the HVAC unit is if it's not on the seller disclosure, or how to even look it up. They're not being taught this, or they're not taking the personal effort themselves to learn anything about the physical asset that they're selling, which frankly, I go to car dealerships. I experience the same thing. I try to go buy a new car. The car salesman knows nothing about the car I'm asking him questions about. He's like, oh, I got to look that up. If you have to look it up, then what do I need you for? I can look it up myself.
It's lack of extreme accountability. Like I said, you treat this industry and these days like a university class. Like we used to study these inspection reports. We used to ask the inspector so that the whole goal is that you're going into showings way ahead of time, being able to spot these things. Now we're not inspectors, but you can't just pass off all responsibility onto inspectors and contractors. You need to be able to go in as the agent to protect the client and say, oh, wow, I'm noticing these shingles look this way. Or, hey, this is only going to need this minor repair. We've seen this a lot, very high level, but you're going to get an inspection to verify all these things. But you're bringing these up ahead of time to help the transaction through and through. So there's no surprises down the road.
Yes.
Oh, when we get the inspection report and it shows there was a hole here and these shingles are a little rough, we talked about this. Now, what does that mean? Let's do some more diligence. And so in reading all of these reports and taking accountability and ownership for the transaction as the real estate agent, you're going to prevent a lot of issues down the road. Just read, please read, and read to understand, read to be better, read to help educate.
It's scary, Brittany. So to reiterate, read your independent contractor agreement, read your inspection reports, and communicate what they are, and read the purchase and sale agreement that you're signing in the first place. You do those three things, you're automatically in the top 10% of real estate agents in the industry, which is sad to say. And unfortunately, real estate brokerages they teach the contract, right? They're very good at teaching the contract. The problem is the agents don't read them, and they rarely show up to these contract classes, or they're just too confused, to be honest with you. The standard needs to be higher for real estate agents in the industry, and that's the number one reason why we're coming on here. We're so passionate about sharing this information. Agents need to know this, and if you're getting into the industry and you just heard about what the independent contractor agreement is, get the copy of the independent contractor agreement, or if you're in the industry already, get a copy of it and start reading what these terms are so you don't get trapped down the line, and maybe you can start negotiating with your broker or find a way out of that contract now.
Yeah, it's preparation mode, right? So you're prepping for those times that come that you don't anticipate are going to come, but when you need to be prepared, you're ready, you've understood what's to come because you've read the contracts.
Save yourselves thousands of dollars. See you guys next week.